Before anything can appear in your external world, it must first exist in your internal world. All things, whether relationships, wealth, health, or purpose, are born from consciousness itself. This is the great mystical truth that most overlook. Awareness is the only reality. You are not a body searching for spiritual experiences. You are awareness experiencing life through a body. Your consciousness, your awareness of being, is the creative power behind everything you encounter. The moment you say, I am, you begin the act of creation. Nothing exists outside your awareness. The people you meet, the circumstances you face, even your struggles and triumphs, they are all reflections of your state of consciousness. You are the dreamer of your own reality. Your world is not happening to you, it is flowing from you. When you accept that awareness is the source of all that is, you no longer try to manipulate the outside world. Instead, you turn within, to the place where all things are born. You begin to take responsibility for your state of being, knowing that what you become aware of consistently is what you inevitably manifest. This is the foundation of mystical manifestation. To change your world, change what you are aware of being. That is the key that unlocks the door to any reality you wish to experience. Most people live under the illusion that what they desire exists somewhere outside of themselves, somewhere in the future, in another place, or in someone else's possession. But the truth taught by all great mystics, especially Neville Goddard, is this: you are not separate from what you seek. Desire is not random. It's not something that arises in you arbitrarily. It's not a test, nor is it a cruel reminder of what you lack. Desire is a spiritual signal, a divine invitation. It is your higher self revealing a version of you that already exists in another state of consciousness. You desire something because it is already yours in the unseen. It already exists within your field of awareness. You're simply being called to awaken to it. You see, the only distance between you and what you desire is the illusion of separation created by your current state of being. When you believe you're poor, you perceive wealth as something distant. When you feel unworthy, love looks like something you have to earn. But these are lies told by a state you're currently inhabiting, not the truth of your being. Neville Goddard said, you already are that which you want to be, and your refusal to believe this is the only reason you do not see it. This is the mystical core of manifestation. You do not need to chase, beg, or fight for your desires. You simply need to accept that they are already yours, that they are part of you, not apart from you. Let's go deeper. If you are aware of something, it already exists within you. This is not metaphysical poetry, it's literal. The moment you desire something, it becomes part of your consciousness. Your job is not to figure out how to get it. Your job is to align your identity with it. To step into the version of yourself who already has it. The version of you who is already healed, already wealthy, already loved, already at peace is not far away. That version of you exists in a higher state of awareness, and the bridge to it is built through assumption, imagination, and feeling. You must assume the consciousness of your desired self until it becomes natural, until it feels like home. This is not about positive thinking. It's about identity transformation. When you say, I am successful, you're not lying to yourself. You are shifting into a different layer of awareness where success is natural. If you remain in that state, through repetition, feeling, and inner stillness, your outer world will conform to match it. The world is only ever echoing back your state of being. You're not meant to strive toward your desires. You're meant to recognize them as parts of you trying to return to your awareness. When you believe that you already are what you want to become, you collapse the illusion of time and space. You create what Neville called the end. And when you live from the end, the bridge of incidents begins to unfold. Suddenly, what once felt far away starts to come to you, not through struggle, but through alignment. So pause right now and ask yourself, what do I deeply desire? Can I feel what it would be like if I already had it? Can I allow myself to become that version of me now? You are the source. You are the answer. You are the container of all creation. What you seek is not out there. It is you. From the time we're young, we are taught that in order to get what we want, we must chase it. Work hard. Go after it. Struggle, strive, sacrifice. While effort has its place, this mindset often traps us in a cycle of never-ending pursuit. The more we chase, the more we affirm that what we want is not here yet. But here's the truth that Neville Goddard so powerfully revealed. You do not manifest by chasing. You manifest by assuming. The assumption is one of the most misunderstood spiritual principles, yet it is also the most powerful. To assume is not to pretend. It is not wishful thinking. It is not delusion. It is the conscious act of claiming an identity before there is physical proof. When you assume a state, you are saying to the universe, this is who I am now. And because the outer world is nothing more than a mirror of your inner world, reality must reflect that assumption back to you. It must rearrange itself to match your new identity. Let's say you want to be wealthy. If you continue to affirm that you are trying to get rich or that money is coming, you are subtly reinforcing that you are not rich now. And because consciousness creates reality, your world continues to echo that state of lack. But what happens when you assume the state of wealth even before the money arrives? You begin to think like a wealthy person. You feel secure. You make decisions with clarity and confidence. You speak differently. You hold yourself differently. This internal shift is the real cause of manifestation. Neville said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Persist in that assumption, and it will harden into fact. This is not optional. It's spiritual law. Whatever you assume yourself to be and remain faithful to must eventually express itself in your world. This principle is the opposite of chasing. Chasing says, it's out there. I must reach it. Assuming says, it's already mine. I simply allow it to unfold. And this shift in mindset is what separates powerful creators from perpetual seekers. Think of a thermostat. When you set it to a desired temperature, the environment around it begins to adjust until it matches the internal setting. That's how assumption works. When you set your inner world, your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, to match your desire, life begins to organize itself around that new setting. Here's the key. The assumption must be natural. It must feel true to you, not as a desperate attempt to make something happen, but as a calm, quiet conviction that this is who I am now. That's where imagination plays a crucial role. You use your imagination not to escape reality, but to reshape it, to rehearse and feel the reality of your assumption so deeply that it becomes second nature. When you do this consistently, the need to chase falls away. You no longer look for signs or obsess over timing. You live from the end, knowing that what you have assumed must eventually be made visible. Just as a seed becomes a tree, your assumption becomes your reality. So stop chasing. Stop affirming lack. Stop begging the universe to give you what you already have access to. Instead, go within. Ask yourself, who must I become to experience the life I desire? Then assume that version of yourself boldly, lovingly, and faithfully. The world does not change when you force it. The world changes when you change your concept of self. And the fastest way to change your self-concept is not through striving, it is through assumption. Remember, you are not becoming, you are being. We live in a world that worships logic. We're taught that if something can't be measured or touched, it isn't real. But the mystic knows better. What's real isn't just what can be seen with the eyes, it's what is felt in the heart. In fact, it is feeling that bridges the invisible and the visible. Feeling is the missing link between what you are within and what you experience without. Neville Goddard made it clear. Feeling is the secret, not words, not effort, not trying harder. It is the emotional acceptance of a desire already fulfilled that calls it into physical being. Your feelings are the vibrational language through which you speak to the infinite creative power within you. You can think about something all day long, but if you don't feel it, you're not impressing the subconscious mind. You might say, I am wealthy 100 times a day, but if deep down you still feel broke, the dominant feeling wins every time. The subconscious mind does not respond to words, it responds to feeling. This is why so many people affirm without results. They say all the right things, but their emotional state contradicts their statements. They're trying to plant the seed of abundance while watering it with the feeling of lack. To manifest what you desire, you must generate the feeling of already having it. You must live in the emotional state of the wish fulfilled. When you feel rich, even when your bank account says otherwise. When you feel loved, even in solitude. When you feel healed, even in the midst of pain. You are impressing the subconscious with a new reality. The feeling is the cause, the manifestation is the effect. Think of a mirror. It can only reflect what stands before it. Your life is that mirror. If you want to change the reflection, you must change what stands in front of it. Your emotional atmosphere, your felt state of being. That is the spiritual work. This is why imagination is such a powerful tool in manifestation. Not because it allows you to daydream, but because it lets you experience a different feeling now. In imagination, you can touch, taste, and feel your desires as real. You can mentally rehearse your success. And the more vividly and frequently you do this, the more natural that feeling becomes. Eventually, the body and subconscious mind can no longer tell the difference between imagination and memory. Then, it has already happened. Neville taught that your feeling must match the end state. Don't imagine getting the money. Feel as if you've already received it. Don't imagine finding love. Feel as though you are already cherished and secure. You must occupy the feeling tone of your fulfilled desire and live from it. It is this alignment between your inner feeling and your desired reality that collapses time. What you feel now becomes what you experience later. The gap between the two begins to close. You stop reacting to what is and begin creating from what is within. So today, instead of asking, when will it happen? Ask yourself, can I feel it now? Can you cultivate the emotional atmosphere of success, love, freedom, or health before anything changes on the outside? This is the sacred bridge. This is the power of mystic creation. Feeling is the doorway through which your invisible self steps into visible form. Your outer world is simply catching up to your inner conviction. So many of us spend our lives trying to fix the scene of our lives. The external events, circumstances, relationships, and situations. We think, if I could just get a new job, if this person would treat me better, if I had more money, if my body were different, then I could finally feel peace, joy, success, or worthiness. But this is a spiritual illusion. Neville Goddard taught us that the world is not something to manipulate, it is something to reflect. The external scene is nothing more than a shadow cast by an inner state. Trying to change the outer world without first changing the inner world is like yelling at a mirror, hoping the reflection will smile. It doesn't work that way. Your world is your mirror. It reflects not what you want, but what you are aware of being. To change your life, you don't need to fix the scene. You need to shift the state. Your state is your level of consciousness. It's the mood, the vibration, the identity you are occupying. It's how you feel yourself to be in this moment. Are you in the state of lack or abundance, love or loneliness, wholeness or brokenness, fear or faith? That state determines everything. Neville said it clearly. Do not attempt to change the outer world, for it is only a reflection. Instead, change the inner state, and the outer world will follow. When you try to change the scene without shifting the state, you end up in frustration, effort, and cycles that repeat. You may move cities, change relationships, switch jobs, but if you carry the same inner state, the same problems will follow you in new forms. That's not bad luck. It's divine law in action. But when you change your state, the scene has no choice but to reorganize itself, because consciousness is the only reality, and your state of being is the script from which life reads. If you shift into the state of abundance, opportunities appear. If you dwell in the state of love, loving relationships emerge. If you remain faithful to the state of peace, chaos begins to dissolve. Let's be clear, this doesn't mean you don't take action. It means you act from a new state, not to try and force a result, but to express the version of yourself you've already assumed. Your actions become aligned, powerful, and graceful because they're flowing from a place of truth, not lack. So how do you change your state? You begin by identifying the feeling tone of your desired reality. How would you feel if your wish were already fulfilled? What emotions would saturate your being? Gratitude, confidence, joy. Then you enter that feeling now through imagination, meditation, or quiet assumption. And then you remain there, you persist, you live from that inner state, even if nothing outside has changed yet. Because you understand that the outer world is just a delayed echo. It takes time for the reflection to catch up to the light. This is the essence of spiritual mastery. No longer being a slave to the scene, but a conscious creator of the state. You begin to live from the inside out. You stop reacting and start radiating. You move from being a victim of circumstance to being the cause of it. So remember, when your world isn't what you want it to be, don't fight the mirror. Don't beg the scene to change. Instead, close your eyes, go within, and shift the state. That is where true power lives. And when the inner changes, the outer must follow. Most people have been conditioned to think of God as something external, an all-powerful force in the sky who rewards, punishes, gives, and withholds. But this belief creates separation. It causes us to beg, plead, and wait rather than realize the truth. The presence of God is not out there. It is your own awareness of being. Neville Goddard boldly declared, your I amness is God. The moment you say I am, you're invoking the creative power of the universe, not in metaphor, but in mystical truth. God is the awareness that says I am within you. This is the divine spark, the source of all creation, the limitless power that manifests worlds. And it lives in you, not just near you, not above you. It is you. The same awareness that looked out of the eyes of Christ, Buddha, and all awakened beings is looking through your eyes right now. When you say, I am tired, I am poor, I am afraid, you are misusing the name of God. You are attaching divine creative energy to a limited concept of self. And what you continue to attach to your I am, you manifest. But when you begin to consciously direct your awareness, when you say, I'm confident, I am whole, I am prosperous, and begin to feel those words as truth, you awaken the God power within. You begin to reshape reality from the inside out. This is not arrogance. It is spiritual responsibility. To recognize God in yourself is not to elevate the ego. It is to dissolve it. It is to realize that the power you seek has been within you all along, and it is not yours alone. It belongs to everyone. You are not God in isolation, but an expression of the one universal being individualized as you. Never often reference the Bible not as a religious document, but as a psychological drama unfolding in the human mind. When the Bible says, be still and know that I am God, it is not telling you to worship something outside of you. It is calling you inward to the stillness of awareness, to the place where all creation begins. That's why manifestation is not about hustle or force. It is about awakening. When you awaken to the truth that your awareness is God, you stop looking for permission to create. You stop waiting for signs. You begin to realize that imagination is divine action, that your thoughts and feelings are not random. They are creative instruments. This awareness is what mystics throughout history have called Christ within, the Atman, the higher self. It is the silent witness behind your thoughts. It is the eternal now presence within you. And it responds not to what you say with your lips, but what you feel and accept as true in your heart. To honor this divine awareness is to walk through life with reverence for yourself and for others. Because if God is awareness, and awareness is within everyone, then everyone is divine. Every person you meet is another face of God unaware of itself. And the more you remember this, the more compassion, love, and wisdom flows through you. So pause for a moment. Feel the stillness behind your thoughts, the presence that observes but is not the thought itself. That is the I am. That is the creative power. That is God. And from that space you can declare, I am free. I am love. I am the creator of my reality. Not as a wish, but as a truth. Your awareness is sacred. Guard it. Honor it. Use it. It is the doorway to all things. One of the greatest spiritual secrets Neville Goddard ever shared can be summed up in 3 simple words. Live in the end. To live in the end means to mentally, emotionally, and spiritually occupy the version of you who already has the thing you desire. It means to feel now what you would feel if your wish were already fulfilled. Before any evidence appears in the physical world, most people live toward the end. They wait for circumstances to change before giving themselves permission to feel successful, loved, or secure. They say, once I have the money, I'll feel abundant. Or when the relationship comes, then I'll feel loved. But this reverses the law of manifestation. It is not seeing is believing. It is believing is seeing. Neville made this distinction clear. You must think from the wish fulfilled, not of it. Thinking of your desire keeps it at a distance. It reinforces that you are not yet the person who has it. But when you think from it, when you feel as though your desire is already yours, you create alignment. And alignment is what causes manifestation. Let's look at it practically. Suppose you want to be financially free. Living in the end doesn't mean pretending to be rich and spending irresponsibly. It means stepping into the inner state of someone who no longer worries about money, someone who feels secure, abundant, and confident in their ability to receive. It's not about acting externally. It's about assuming the internal reality of wealth so completely that it begins to shape your decisions, your energy, and ultimately your world. The same goes for love, health, purpose, anything. You must move into the emotional frequency of your fulfilled desire and live as if it were already done, because in spiritual truth, it is. This is not make-believe. This is creative consciousness at work. Your imagination is not fantasy. It's the workshop of God within you. When you imagine with feeling and persistence, you are selecting a future reality. And when you live in the end of that imagined scene, your subconscious begins to reorganize your beliefs, behaviors, and circumstances to make it real. But because your faith dare to assume you are what you want to be. Remain faithful to that assumption, and it will become fact. This requires courage, faith, discipline. It means refusing to be swayed by what your senses tell you, because the senses reflect your past state, not your current one. You will be tested. Old conditions may linger for a while, but your job is not to panic. It is to persist in the end, to return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled over and over until it becomes your natural dwelling place, until the assumption is no longer an effort, but a habit. Living in the end isn't about controlling how things unfold. It's about surrendering to the knowing that they will. You may not know the exact bridge of events that will lead to your desire, and you don't need to. Your job is the inner work. Life will take care of the rest. So ask yourself, how would I walk, talk, breathe, and think if my dream were already true? What choices would I make from that state? What would I no longer worry about? Start living from those answers today. And when you live in the end, you collapse the illusion of separation between you and your desire. You become it. And what you become internally must be expressed externally. Live in the end, not as a method, but as a way of being. Because that is how creators live. That is how the mystic moves through life. with quiet confidence that all things are already done. There's a universal principle that separates those who manifest powerfully from those who merely dabble in the idea of manifestation. It's not talent. It's not intelligence. It's not even belief alone. It is persistence. The unwavering decision to remain in the state of the wish fulfilled until the unseen becomes seen. In Neville Goddard's teachings, this principle is emphasized again and again. You must persist in the assumption of your desired reality, even when your senses tell you the opposite. This is where most people give up. They imagine once or twice, they feel the end once a week. But when things in the outer world don't change quickly, doubt creeps in and they abandon the state. But here is the key. Your persistence is proof of faith. It is not about intensity, it's about consistency. You don't have to feel fireworks every time you visualize. You simply have to return again and again to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Like water carving through stone, your repeated assumption gradually reprograms your subconscious and reshapes your reality. When you plant a seed in the soil, you don't dig it up the next day to see if it's growing. You water it, you protect it, you trust that in the unseen soil something is happening. The same is true with your manifestations. The moment you assume a new state, when you fully embody the feeling of your desire, you've planted the seed. But now you must persist. Persistence does not mean forcing. It means remaining faithful. It means making your assumed state your dwelling place, not a temporary vacation. It means that even when your bank account is low, you persist in the feeling of abundance. Even when you feel lonely, you persist in the feeling of being deeply loved. Even when the job hasn't come, you persist in feeling valuable and fulfilled in your work. Neville said the difference between feeling yourself in action here and now and visualizing yourself in action as though you were on a motion picture screen is the difference between success and failure. And that success depends on your ability to persist in that feeling no matter what the outer world shows you. Why is this so powerful? Because the outer world is a lagging reflection of your inner state. It takes time for your assumption to solidify into physical form. Reality is not instant. It is responsive. And it always responds to the dominant vibration, not the fleeting one. This means your work is not to check the outer world for validation. It's to stay rooted in your inner conviction, to keep showing up in thought and feeling as the version of you who already has what you desire, to let your imagination be stronger than your memory, to let your vision be louder than your doubt. There'll be moments when it feels like nothing is changing. That's normal. That's the testing ground of faith. The question is, will you return to the end state even then? Will you persist in the unseen long enough for it to become the seen? Because if you do, if you remain loyal to your assumption, the world must conform. It's not a matter of if, but when. Your inner world is the mold. Reality is the clay. And your persistence holds the shape long enough for the outer to take form. So breathe, relax, trust, and most of all, persist. Keep assuming, keep imagining, keep feeling the end. Because the moment you refuse to give up is the moment everything begins to shift. The unseen is not denial, it is a delay. And what you persist in, you will one day stand inside of.